The Houston Texans are failing C.J. Stroud, and it's become Joe Burrow level bad. I have no clue what I watched on Monday Night Football, but it had me cringing every single second I watched it when the Texans offense would trot out on the field. I mean, it felt like a never-ending cycle of despair watching C.J. Stroud and that offense trot out on the field. I mean, it was so bad to watch. It was pathetic, to be quite honest with you. And this feels like the breaking point for the Houston Texans right now. I mean, you're 2-4. The schedule does not get any easier, and we'll dive into that a little bit later in the video. But I don't know how I'm supposed to still believe in this Texans team. I was very high on them coming into this year, felt that they would be a Super Bowl contender, felt that they'd crack into that tier A in the AFC with the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills. But obviously a lot has happened with the Ravens and Bills. And here we are with the Texans at 2-4 after winning a playoff game in each of the last 2 years with C.J. Stroud, most likely not even going to make the playoffs. They only have a 23% chance to make it right now, which is crazy with everything considered, because this defense is unbelievable, maybe the best in football. It is so good watching them come out there, getting 4 turnovers, getting the ball back to the Texans offense. And all I could think of is, man, how are these guys feeling when Will Anderson Jr. gets that strip sack touchdown, when you have Stingley who gets that interception? I mean, what is going through these guys' head? Because like realistically, you know this offense cannot do anything. And that's the most painful part of this entire equation. And then I go on Twitter after the game and I see everyone trashing C.J. Stroud. You know the memes. You know people are going to be ruthless on the internet. But watching the game last night and watching this Texans offense be pretty mediocre over the last 2 years, a year and a half, I don't think this is C.J. Stroud's fault. I really don't think it's his fault, and I think he's being failed by the Houston Texans. Now, as a casual fan, if you're a box score watcher, you would think that it's C.J. Stroud's fault. Even on the surface level, you'd watch it and say, why is C.J. Stroud not doing more? Did you see how good he was his rookie year? And that's what I hear all the time. And in my head, I'm like, we've got to look at the situation around him, because it's been absolutely abysmal. It has been so bad. It's so painful to watch. And I know I keep saying like it's cringy, it's painful, it's anemic, whatever. It is so bad to watch, folks. I mean, last night, the Seahawks won 27-19. And they turned the football over 4 times. Houston got a defensive touchdown and still lost this game. I don't think you realize how crazy and rare that is. That is because the offense was so bad. Now let's dive into the offensive struggles here, because there's a lot to peel apart when you're really looking at this orange, when you're taking off the peels. They're failing C.J. Stroud at a Joe Burrow level right now. That's what we're witnessing with Cincinnati. They've always had a terrible defense. They've always had a really bad offensive line, but the receiving core has been good. I feel like you can look at that for Stroud and say, okay, bad offensive line, but you've got a good defense, but the receiving core has been really bad over the last year and a half because of the injuries. It's not just because they're bad. But overall, since being drafted in 2023, no quarterback has been sacked more in the NFL. He's been sacked 105 times. No quarterback has been sacked more in the NFL. C.J. Stroud is at number 1. So first of all, the offensive line is absolutely terrible. And it was so bad last night. Whether that was protecting C.J. Stroud being on his behind all game long, it was bad to watch. Whether it was running the football in the trenches, there were multiple opportunities. The Texans were on the 1-yard line with 2nd and goal. And there were so many times throughout the game where you're like, they can't run it through the trenches and get 1 yard. That is not the Houston Texans' identity. And in the NFL, if you can't run the ball for 1 yard, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. I'm sorry. You can look at any team. If you can't grit your teeth and say, we're going to move you for 1 yard, that's all we're going to do, and you can't even do that, you're in big trouble. Every single time they would try and run the ball, there was a different situation. I want to say it was the first half where it was a 3rd and 1 and you run the ball 2 different times with Woody Marks and it gets blown up both times and they turn it over. This team was anemic rushing the football. And that's another thing that I'll talk about in this video as well. The offensive line's horrible. Stroud's been sacked the most times in the NFL since being in the league in 2023, 105 times. This rushing attack is terrible without Joe Mixon. It has been so bad this year. They've really only had like 1 good game. They give nothing for this passing game. If you're a defense, if you're a defensive line, if you're Seattle, And you know that, hey, realistically, we don't have to worry about the running game. All we've got to do is just worry about Stroud dropping back. And hey, that's pretty easy because the offensive line is so bad. It makes it really easy to absolutely disrupt this offense. So you got nothing from your running game last night. 17 rushes for 56 yards. You take out CJ Stroud's 2 carries for 25 yards. You were looking at an offense between Nick Chubb and Woody Marks that ran the ball 15 times for 31 yards. Barely over 2 yards a carry. That is terrible. They're getting nothing from their rushing game. CJ Stroud was the leading rusher last night. Then you can look at the receiving core. They have been so injured over the last 2 years, whether it was Diggs last year tearing his ACL, Nico Collins being roughed up last year, him getting the concussion last night, Tank Dell's knee injury last year. That's probably going to keep him out all of this season. This team has not been able to catch a break with the injuries in the receiving core, so it makes it so much harder for Stroud. Final thing I'll say about the offense before we talk about Stroud a little bit is the play calling has been so bad. It's been so bad. CJ Stroud is already on his 3rd play caller in 3 years. That doesn't help. That is not good for a young quarterback. For a quarterback that's trying to thrive and figure out the NFL game, he's got to learn 3 different systems. That's not good. And the play calling was so bad last night. I understand you can't run the ball for a yard. I understand that. If you can't do that, if you're the play caller, you can't try and continuously do it. When they turn the ball over on downs, they tried to rush it through the A gap, B gap, 2 different times for a yard and could not get it. If you're not a team that can run through the gaps, that's fine. Don't do it. Just don't do it. I felt like maybe they should have tried some more outside zones, some more tosses, whatever, because they tried to run up the middle and it never worked. Play calling was horrible. And you can say that was situational awareness as well. Why is D'Amico Ryans not having Kaimi Fairbairn kick it out of bounds or kick it out of the end zone? And I know it didn't end up mattering because of that penalty, but I'll tell you about the situation. There was 2 minutes and 4 seconds left when they scored. They were down 8 points. They, as in the Texans, they were down 8 points with 2 minutes and 4 seconds. And Fairbairn, they only have 1 timeout and they have the 2-minute warning. So you're gonna get 2 clock stoppages. You're gonna get one at the 2-minute warning, and then you're gonna get your timeout right afterwards. That'll put you about 1:56, and then it'll be 3rd down. 40 seconds comes off the clock. You get the ball probably with around a minute, say at the very least. You get the ball with a minute. Then Stroud can go down the field and do his thing. Instead, Fairbairn kicks it into the end zone. All they've got to do is bring it out, and it gets past the 2-minute warning, and then the 2-minute warning hits, and you're 1:56 into the clock. There's 1:56 left, I mean. So you lose the 2-minute warning, and then you come out of it for first down for the Seahawks, and you've only got 1 timeout, and boom, there's your ball game. Brain dead situational awareness for the Houston Texans. That goes into it. I was like, what am I watching here? Terrible. The thing I'll say about Stroud is there are definitely plays where I'm like, man, you've got to be able to make that throw. He doesn't look in rhythm. He doesn't look comfortable. And you can blame Stroud for that, sure. But I think this stems from the overarching issue of him not trusting his offensive line. Them not being able to run the football. Bad play calling. Receivers that you really can't trust. When you add up all of those things, what do you want CJ Stroud to do? I don't know what he's supposed to do. He's not Superman. I think maybe Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes would be the only 2 quarterbacks that would be able to succeed with that. And those guys are like Hall of Fame level. And I still think Stroud is a top 10 quarterback in football. And I know I'm probably going to get crushed for that. I believe in Stroud. I do think he's one of the premier elite quarterbacks in our game. He's one of only 6 quarterbacks in NFL history to win a playoff start in each of his first 2 seasons in the league. That's greatness. And the situation for Stroud last year was bad. And he still won a playoff game. He still beat Justin Herbert. I think that's what gets lost in the mix when it comes with CJ Stroud is this dude wins. He steps up in the big moments. But things have continued to mount so much that here we are 6 weeks in, for the Texans, and they're 2-4. And this has been one of the most anemic offenses in football. Week 1 against the Rams, your defense holds that offense to 14 points, and you only put up 9 points. You don't even score a touchdown. Week 2 against the Buccaneers, they should have won. Baker had that 4th and 10 where he escaped, leads them on the game-winning drive. Week 3 against Jacksonville, it is 10-10. Nico Collins gets the fumbles the ball with like a few minutes to go. Jaguars come down, score, and win. Okay, you beat the Titans. Whoop-de-dee-doo-dah. You beat Baltimore pretty good. I thought that was maybe the turning point. Okay, the offense looked really good. 44 points. They were starting to move. Now you lose this game. I'm like, okay, you've got San Francisco next week on a short week. Denver, Jacksonville again. Those are 3 playoff teams right there, folks. Then you get Tennessee again. Then you just get a brutal 3-game stretch. Buffalo on Thursday Night Football. On the road against Indy. On the road against KC. Arizona, Las Vegas. You should win those too. Then you're going on the road against the Chargers, who hopefully by week 17 will be a little more healthy. Then you've got Indianapolis at home. I don't think this Texans team is going to make the playoffs. I'm sorry, I don't. And I thought they were. I thought they were going to be unbelievable this year. But we're 6 weeks in, and I feel like this is when you know what teams are. You get a good understanding of who the contenders are, who the pretenders are, what teams are missing, where their glaring issues are. And I see all the glaring issues with the Texans. You can't put on that glass slipper like Cinderella and all of a sudden all your problems go away. That's not the situation that the Houston Texans are in. And it's a bummer. It really is. Because I think we're seeing C.J. Stroud be let down in this entire equation, because I do believe that he's one of the premier quarterbacks in the NFL. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. This division is really good. It's really tough. And for Houston, this defense is one of the best in football. So they're going to be in a lot of these games. But I just don't see this offense turning things around that fast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Caden Kubler, and we'll see you guys later.